So welcome back to my channel. This is Dom, and I haven't done any videos for a while about my progress on painting, mainly because I've been away on holiday and actually didn't do an awful lot of painting. But since I've been back, I have been, and boy have I been churning them out. As people who've watched the Plastic Crack podcast will know, hashtag blame Martin, I've got into War of the Roses in a big way, and when I was away in Cornwall for a couple of weeks, I took away 5 boxes of Perry plastic War of the Roses figures and assembled them all, and then came back and now of course having to paint them all. I can honestly say, people will know who follow the channel, I'm not much of a modeller. I'm not into modelling, doesn't really excite me at all. But I genuinely enjoyed constructing all these Perry miniatures. They were great fun to do, and surprisingly easy for an average painter assembler like me. And beauty of it, I know Martin goes on, Seventh Son goes on about this a lot. The elements of these models are very interchangeable, so you can swap them in and out quite easily, which is great as well. So yeah, I've kind of thrown myself in on a War of the Roses project. I don't know exactly when and if I'm going to play it. I know that Martin's into it and has been playing using a version of Hail Caesar. And I do like the rules that he's adapted, or he's taken the Rick Priestley rules that he developed for playing with the Perrys from the normal Hail Caesar rules and developed a War of the Roses set, and then Martin has made some other adaptations to improve them even further, and I love the game reports he's shown on his channel, so I thought I'm going to have a bit of this. Plus Ken from Miniature Wargames Warriors is also looking to get into this, and I know that he is building a Lancastrian army. So I thought, right, I'll immerse myself into this period in a big way, and I've started to paint up figures. Now, as I would say, I never claimed to be a massive, brilliant painter, so the sort of theory, or the fact of the heraldry of this period does put the willy wobblers on me a little bit, but I've tried to find ones that are actually relatively straightforward to do, and the experience of learning a bit about the period, how the heraldry works, how the retinues worked, has actually been great fun as well. So so long and short of it, I have started on the first couple of retinues I'm working on. So first up, this is a mixed bill and bow unit from Sir Thomas Stanley, his force. And Stanley's obviously well known from if you know your War of the Roses and medieval history, you'll know the Stanleys intervened, shall we say, at the very last minute at the Battle of Bosworth, having sort of sitting out there. Apparently they seemed to be on Richard's side, and then suddenly swapped sides and helped Henry Tudor to take the throne. They're sort of infamous for the fact they steered a very clever course across a brutal war like the War of the Roses, where they sort of had different brothers in different camps. They managed to keep on both sides without really suffering too much a result. And I thought, actually, I love the diplomacy of them, the Game of Thrones-ness of them, plus their heraldry is actually relatively simple. The retinue troops are green and red, or reddy orange colour. They have this weird insignia on them, which, you know, from 3-foot rule looks like a bit of a blob. So that's fine for me. And so I started painting up this. So this is the older brother. He was very successful at, as I say, steering that middle course. And I've worked through doing a couple of units of his liveried troops. So Martin's way of doing this is have the pike. Sorry, I keep saying the billman in amongst the archers, so you have 2 blocks of archers and 1 block of billmen, and that's what I followed here. First time ever as well, I've used the Vallejo mud basing stuff. I think it's called weathering stuff actually, but I used it as a basing material. Really enjoyed doing it. I wanted these troops to look like how I imagined, some of these medieval battles in the War of the Roses. They took place in very they're taking place in Britain, so rainy, muddy, and I wanted my bases to look muddy, like they're traipsing through the mud, thousands of men, working their way through the slush and the mud. And so this valet, this is European mud, I think, this one, was brilliant. You just slap it all over the bases, and then I've pushed some tufts in and let it dry. And then once it's dried, you can, don't know whether you can see, but I used some of the Vallejo water effect and drop that over, so there's a sort of almost like a marshy tint to the bases. I'm really pleased how they came out. So that's my first infantry unit for Stanley. This is, as I say, one of his household troops. So this is a second unit of Bill and Bowman for Stanley. Again, same basic principle, greens and that orangey red for the tabards, for those who have them, and then I've mixed them in with some other troops that just wearing padded armour and not necessarily got the liveried coats on. These again, largely periplastics. There are a couple of others. There's a metal figure there, there's a metal figure there that I bought on eBay. I think there's a metal archer there as well. So I've just put a few other figures in just to put a bit of variety. But really you can get the variety by the way you construct the models. These flags, I think this one's from it's Freshwater one. I can't remember where the flags came from, but that's the retinue flag, and that's the second unit done. So next up, this is a unit of foot knights, or men-at-arms as they are on the rules. Again, 3 blocks of 6, give me 18 figures, all in very heavy plate armour. Again, a mixture of, I think actually this one and that one are steel fist miniatures, but there's a couple of metals, mostly though it's periplastics. Bit of variety in the colours of the armour, just to give a bit of something different, and that's the beauty. I just wanted a ragtag bunch of retainers and household troops that I could just say that's part of Thomas Stanley's retinue. So there's 2 bow units and 1 men-at-arms foot knights unit. I'll probably do another foot knights and probably another bow in their retinue colours in time, but that's a good start, I think. So next up, another bow and bill unit. Again, part of Thomas Stanley's retinue, but in this case I've got it led by one of his lesser retainers, who is actually, I believe, his son, George Stanley, who was also known as Lord Strange. That's his colours. What I've done, just to denote the fact he's sort of part of Thomas Stanley's retinue, is I've mixed some of his guys. So in reality, he would have sent a certain number of troops to join the army along with his brother's troops, and he probably would have been given command of some troops. So that's what I've done here. He's the guy in the middle. There's his standard bearer. He's got a couple of guys around him who are wearing his livery, and then we've got Thomas Stanley. Rest of them are in Thomas Stanley's colours. So just a bit of variety. It means you can have a different coloured flag without having to represent a minor noble with a massive force. So that's another bow and bill unit ready for Tom Stanley's side of the army. So then, of course, I need to make sure I've got some artillery support. Artillery in the War of the Roses was actually quite a big thing, very much a prestige weapon, and improved throughout the period. They improved the methods of making gunpowder and the methods of making the cannons themselves throughout the period. Not overly dramatic in effect on the table, on the battlefield, sorry, but kind of fun addition. So this is a light cannon. I don't know the manufacturer. I picked it up on the internet. but I kind of like it. Again, you can see I've done I think this shows up reasonably well. You can see where the mud, I put drawn ruts in the mud, and then put some of the water in there to sort of have it all fill in from where the water seeped into the holes that the cannons cut in the mud. Now this is Thomas Stanley's base, command base in his own right. You can see he's got his long-tailed standard and then his personal standard there on the base. Now I did debate whether to do mounted versions, dismounted versions, put them on round bases. In the end I went with dismounted on rectangular bases. I may yet do a mounted command base for him. But I thought I'll do it this way, because this way if I decide that in the rules the commanders can join a combat, and I thought if they're in the same sort of basing I can just sort of put him in amongst the unit and it'll be perfect. This is a bit of conversion. I'm certainly not in the class of Stee on Point HQ or Martin in terms of adapting figures, but I did sort of do a little bit of personalisation of this figure, gave him a cut down lance instead of any other side weapon, and that is Thomas Stanley pointing the way, telling his brother where to go and attack Richard III at Bosworth. Yeah, really enjoyed this project. So that's the command element and the cannon for Thomas Stanley's retinue. So as well as Thomas Stanley, I thought I'd do his younger brother William Stanley, Sir William Stanley, who also had a decent force. Now, in the early part of the war, he fought on the Lancastrian side, whereas Stanley was on the Yorkish side. But towards the end, at Bosworth, they were both in the field, nominally in the camp of Richard III, and indeed it was William's force that allegedly cut down Richard III in that battle. Again, simple colour scheme for these. They have a red tunic, a livery coat, and then they have the white stag's head, which I've tried to represent to the best of my abilities on these figures. Again, 3-foot rule applies. I think the colouring works well and provides a bit of a contrast to Thomas's force, which is good. So that's another bill and bow unit, all ready to see the field. Again, muddy field that I've represented it as. And then another unit of men-at-arms, or foot soldiers, or foot knights, whatever you want to call them, as part of William's force, and William himself, his command base, with his personal standard and livery standard, again on a rectangular base, so that I can have him join this force if I wish, because I thought that just looks better in a way. So these guys are like all the men-at-arms and foot knights. They're equipped with a mixed bag of two-handed weapons, pole arms and single swords, the odd mace, the odd axe in there. Just really look good on mass, I think. Quite like the effect of these fellas. So that's his force rounded out. Now again, I may do another bow and bill unit for him, so he has 3 actual units. I don't know, we'll see where I go with this. And then next up, I thought they need a bit of mercenary support. So there are a lot of mercenaries in the War of the Roses, French, Flemish, Welsh, Irish, all sorts. This is supposed to be a unit of armoured pikemen from Flanders, so Flemish troops, which were used extensively. Not overly, well, there's not an awful lot of record of them being terribly dynamic or effective in the battlefield, but just a bit of variety, something different away from double-handed chopper waving men-at-arms and bowmen and billmen, to have something slightly different. So this unit is almost entirely front rank figures from part of their range. Not as much variety as I would like in them, but I've painted them up in one of the Osprey books about the period. They have a picture of a Flemish pikeman there who's wearing white and black, and so I took that theme for these. So they're predominantly white and black in their colour scheme. a few sort of browns and what have you for padding and various other colours. But again, I like them. I've done them. I swapped out the pike they came with and gave them these steel pins that are actually far too large and probably will be a nightmare for storage. But rule of cool, I like them a lot, and I just wanted them to look like a proper block of pikes. You've got you're in no doubt that they are a pike block. In the rules, they're used in as deep a formation as they are wide, which is why I've done them 4 blocks of 6 figures on each. They've got a very ornate commander in the front here, and then there's his paymaster, I guess, pointing out where to attack next. This flag here, I believe, is a correct Flanders flag from the period. This one, I believe it was one of the cities in Flanders. So I just sort of stuck that on there for a rule of cool. Yeah, nice figures, nice to get them done. More support for my force. So finally, this is another unit that I've started work on. When I was discussing doing this project with Martin some time ago, and he was telling me about some of the characters and the figures in the period, I wanted someone something a bit different, something a bit nasty, and I'd settled on doing the Duke of Exeter, who is supposed to be a right bar steward. Really was a nasty piece of work. Fought on the Lancastrian side pretty much throughout the war, survived up until the very end when he was allegedly thrown off a ship by his own men because such a bastard he was. I like the colours for his troops. They were red and white with a sort of a yellow sheaf of corn or straw or something like that on the emblazoned on the middle of them, which again I thought was relatively straightforward for me to be able to paint, certainly from a 3-foot rule. So this is my first unit of Beau and Bill for his retinue. So now the Stanleys are pretty much done and they give me a force that can fight either side, I thought I'd continue with the force I was originally going to do, which was the Lancastrian one, ready to rock and roll. Yeah, not much more to say about it other than the fact I'm obviously waiting for his standard. I've ordered it, but it hasn't quite turned up yet. I've got his whatever they call, I don't know the names of them. I've got his personal standard and his main, the long thin flyaway one, but I haven't got the one that goes with each of his retinues. So I'm waiting for that to arrive, and then that unit is finished off. And but it's pretty much done. So there you go. So there you go. That's my latest addiction underway with a vengeance. I painted all of this in a little over a week, which even for me has amazed me how quickly I've done this. And I've become a little bit obsessed with painting them. Really, really enjoyed doing them. They're just a joy to construct, paint, and I just can't wait to actually get them out in the field. I may use them for, never mind the bill hooks and various other systems that are out there, but just having them done is nice. So I'm really pleased with the work. So yeah, so I've got 4 units, or 5 units if you include Duke of Exeter's troops, 5 units of Beau and Bill. Then I've got 2 units of foot men at arms, the unit of pikemen, the cannon, and the 2 command bases completed in just over a week or so, week and a half tops. And as I say, this new basing system I've been using with the Vallejo mud is fantastic. Really, really pleased with how that works out. So much so I've almost run out of the mud. So I'm waiting for my latest order to arrive. Otherwise that may slow up the production line. But there you go. That's my latest addiction. Let's have a little bit of a flyby. Sorry if this does your head in or your eyes in. But I'm quite pleased with this lot. It's an awful lot of figures painted in a very short space of time, but I found myself just in a bit of an addiction phase, just desperate to get out and paint the damn things. So there you go. There's my War of the Roses force. I guess I've probably got about almost the same again to paint yet. So another week or so and that'll be done. I'm joking. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like. I know there's a lot of people doing War of the Roses at the moment. If you are, stick down in the description what retinues you're doing. Always interesting to know what people have grasped hold of and are running with. I'll say I've kind of had a mixture between characters that really interest me as people, but also ones that have heraldry that's relatively easy for me to paint, given my limited skill set with the paintbrush. But I'm pleased with how they come out, and I think from 3 foot these things are going to look fantastic, and I can't wait to get a go with them. So, as I say, stay safe, stay well. I hope everybody's projects are coming together well, and I will see you again soon. This is Dom, signing out.